Yeah, the last emergency podcast we had was about Kevin Durant staying with the Brooklyn Nets. This one is about Steve Nash leaving. What's up, everybody? We're here in the Classic Factory with an emergency pod because today, here on Tuesday, November 1st, the Brooklyn Nets and Steve Nash have agreed to part ways after a 2-5 start. After a win! The nerve of this team. We want to thank Steve for everything he brought to our franchise over the past 2+ seasons. This is General Manager Sean Marks in a release. Since becoming head coach, Steve was faced with a number of unprecedented challenges, and we are sincerely grateful for his leadership, patience, and humility throughout his tenure. Nash released his own statement once the news was announced. He said a lot of things, thanking the organization, thanking Nets fans. My favorite part, Nash in his statement said, "It was an amazing experience with many challenges that I'm incredibly grateful for sure." Now, on top of this Nash news, him parting ways, according to Shams, Jacques Vaughn, he's going to act as head coach tonight versus Trey Kirby's Bulls on TNT. But, Ime Udoka has emerged as a strong frontrunner to be the next Nets head coach. The sides have begun discussions. Udoka obviously suspended from the Celtics for the entire season, but I guess they gave him the okay to come talk to the Brooklyn Nets. My God, not a surprise that Steve Nash has been fired, no?
No, not a surprise. I want to know what's the percentage of Nash, I want to get the heck out of here, versus we would like you to leave. Because if it's a firing, if it's more of a firing, then Joe Tsai and Sean Marks kind of went back on their word in the offseason and are sort of submitting to the players. Because in the offseason they said, we've got the coaches back, we've got the front offices back, and now 7 games in they decide to fire Nash. I do think it's a combination of both. There's a lot of the word patience is important here. I think Nash is just done. And the fact that they go and hire, very likely, it's not completely official quite yet, but Shams Charania is reporting that they intend to sign him, Ime Udoka, that is, to a long-term deal, most likely, for $5, $6, $7 million. I find that very perplexing. First, you're bringing in a guy with very recent baggage, and second, also, why sign somebody long-term here when you know it's just going to fall apart? I mean, there's going to be other things. I think they should be worrying about the roster first and foremost, rather than getting a coach in there. But I guess they have plans for Udoka to stay there for a long time. But I think what's going to happen first is they got to trade Kyrie. And I know I'm jumping ahead here, but this ain't going to be the last emergency podcast. I think they have to.
We live here now.
Yeah. They should have done this in the offseason, but now Kyrie's trade value is lower, I think. And if I'm another GM, I'm calling. I'm saying, hey, you're not going to sign Kyrie long term. Kevin Durant's going to leave eventually. Buy low on those two guys. That's what I think should be next on the list. But hey, they're deciding to sign another guy long term who has more baggage to bring into that locker room.
TK, what's your best guess on the percentage, as Tass put it? Like Nash wanting to get the hell out of here, and I'm tired of this bullshit. To maybe the players ultimately getting through the organization saying, we don't want Steve Nash to be the head coach of this team anymore. Like Kevin Durant said in the offseason, and Joe Tsai at the time said, no, we're going to stick with him. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if all parties involved didn't want Steve Nash to be the coach anymore, because he signed off of his note with a heart emoji. He was ready to go. He's like, I'm out of here. We saw Steve Nash flip his lid for the first time ever as a coach. You can tell the vibes were different, at least. And like Tass is saying, they wanted Steve Nash gone over the summer, so why not do it during the summer? Probably because the Celtics weren't ready to let Ime Udoka go and interview with other teams, and he does have a background there coaching with the Nets in the 2021 season. But for me, it was just like 100% questions on this and almost zero answers. So first one, why not do it in the summer? If you're going to do it 7 games into the season, you should have done it right away. Number 2, why Udoka of anybody out there? It's just bringing more drama to the team. I do understand that he's a good defensive coach, and the way he got the Celtics on the same page last year, that's exactly what you're looking for. If you're the Nets, you need somebody to improve the defense. But the fact that there's a previous relationship there with the Nets makes you think this was a player pick, right? It makes you think Kyrie and KD probably had a little bit of influence on this decision as well. Steve Nash was their hand-picked coach at one point, so you're letting the players pick again. That was another question. And then the final one is Sean Marks next? He was part of the package deal that Kevin Durant wanted gone, right? He wanted Nash gone. Yeah. He wanted Marks gone. obviously KD is still there. Nash, not now. Mark's next. We shall see.
Yeah, they are giving a lot of power to the players, and it is very confusing that they're allowing them to make a decision to go ahead, and they're going to allow them to try and work it out this season, it feels like. And it doesn't feel like it's going to work out.
They're going to try.
Yeah.
So what's funny about this is, not that I believe he was a great X's and O's coach, but Steve Nash, a 94-67 record as head coach of the Nets. He won one playoff series, beat the Celtics before then losing to the Bucks, and then the next year getting swept by the Celtics. KD and Kyrie, they only played 64 games together. It's amazing that he's the winningest coach in Brooklyn Nets history when you're talking win percentage there at 58%. Not a bad clip, but not a lot of playoff success. It's going back to that 2020. Yeah, he's hired as the player-friendly coach that by all accounts maybe Kevin Durant wanted. He had worked with them in Golden State Warriors, where Nash was a player development coach, had a relationship there, and yeah, he comes in, oversee this free-flowing offense, and it worked at the beginning. I think people forget the Nets had the number one offense in the league in that first season under Nash, and then it started to fall off. It was 11th last season, and then it was 16th this season, and there's no defense being played. And again, I don't think Nash, this is his first head coaching job, I don't think he's an X's and O's master by any means, but all of the drama around this team, starting with your superstars, any head coach is in a rough position there. So will we see Nash even try and coach again? That's a question mark. I mean, I've been saying for years, like, what are you doing, Steve? Like, this can't possibly be worth it. It can't be. I know you're getting a hell of a paycheck, but you're making money and all these other things you got your fingers on. But how can you be enjoying this? Like, you love basketball, the way it would play the right way, the sharing of the ball, free flowing and all that, and it's like all this other shit. I mean, I think it did him in here. He's got the World Cup coming up. He wants to watch these games, I'm sure. It starts in like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, maybe he gets signed by somebody else to do some World Cup coverage, do a little analyst work. He's done that before for soccer. That would make sense. Because I'm with you, Skeets, that it's like 80-20. Nash, I want to be out of here. I know the Nets ownership also wants to give the players another shot here because they are so hell-bent on not breaking this up and not tearing it down. They want to be
with
a good
KD,
team.
Kyrie, and Ben Simmons and the shooting around them and stuff like that.
This is the other move. This is their only real move because of the roster and the way it's constructed. Ben Simmons' trade package or trade value could not be lower right now. So what else are they going to do if they want to stay relevant, if they're going to stay good? They're going to fire Nash. So I say it's 80-20. Maybe it's 50-50, whatever.
Yeah.
You're right. Heart emoji. Everybody had their press releases very ready
for
this
How
moment.
long has this been in the works here? Like
at least a few days because it came after a win.
Yeah.
Nash wants out. It's confusing. But again, I don't think this is the last thing that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't doomed from the start because, as you said, that first year, that team was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They played for each other, and if Harden isn't hurt in that second round after they beat the Celtics, and if Kyrie isn't out, Kyrie was out against the Milwaukee Bucks. Harden was playing on half a hamstring, and they lose 7 games to the Milwaukee Bucks, who eventually went on to win the championship. We could be talking about a very different thing, but since then, it's obviously gone directly downhill. So how do you buy into this roster if you're Joe Tsai and Sean Marks? Again, they could have got more for Kyrie in the offseason. It's only gotten lower, and KD's only getting older, although he is obviously balling. But yeah, they're giving in to those two, and I have got 4 months here until the trade deadline, right? Is it possible that they go all season with Kyrie there and don't trade him for value? Or sign him to an extension? I think something has to happen. Signing him to an extension sounds crazy.
You have to remember that there has to be another team that wants Kyrie Irving in their locker room.
Yeah, but there's lots of teams that are way under the cap and would take him on just to either release him, which sounds a little crazy, or have a draft pick attached to him so he could go there and not play.
Wow.
Are you signing Kyrie for a long-term deal? That's my question. He's a free agent come this offseason. I find that very, 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 very difficult to believe. The guy's a 30-point scorer. I know it sounds crazy. He's balling. Mm-hmm. He is.
He's good when he's on the court.
But are you going to sign him long-term with the baggage that comes there? I find that hard to believe.
Let's go back to one of you brought this up. Durant, during the summer, by all reports, said, I don't want Nash to be the head coach. I don't want Marks to be the GM or trade me. That was the ultimatum. Again, this was the last emergency podcast we did where Kevin Durant was finally like, okay, I guess I'll stay. Did they really botch it here, not moving, let's say just even off of Nash and having a new coach in place to try and galvanize these guys, to try and get them play defense a little bit, to try and at least make them happy? And what they did was Josai and Sean Marks, they just dug in their heels and said, no, we're not doing that, because then that's us cowering down to you again. That's us giving you the power, the players, the superstars. But they maybe should have. Why 7 games?
Why
what
7
a facade.
games?
Yeah.
Why did you not do it in the summer if you were going to do it this quickly anyways? But it has to be the Udoka factor. He just must not have been. The availability wasn't right, because they obviously have the Udoka deal ready to go as soon as they have Nash being done. And honestly, maybe the Nets thought, hey, it hasn't worked for everybody else, but it could actually work for us. The Nets were in first place in the Eastern Conference this calendar year. January 20th, 2022. They were in first place in the Eastern Conference. This is before the trades with Harden and Simmons. But at least you could say, hey, if we've got everybody healthy, we're all actually on the same page, maybe we can make a run in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. But if that's the case, you got to give it more than 7 games. Yeah, maybe Nash is making the call here. Maybe he knew the writing was on the wall as well, with the way that he probably has a relationship with Udoka as well, to know that they've been talking along those lines. But just weird. It's I don't know. Has anything good happened for the Brooklyn Nets since Steve Nash took over as coach? Anything that, if you woke up and you looked at The Athletic and you click on the NBA, or you click on the Brooklyn Nets, pull up all these articles from Alex Schiffer, are any of them going to be exciting? Are you going to be like, yes, I can't wait to read this positive news about my team?
Well, yeah. No. No, but the injuries that did them in that 2021 playoffs was seemed like a bright spot. Next year we'll figure this thing out. But it's easy to forget that James Harden also said, I'm done with this. Yeah. I'm done with this roster. I'm done with this locker room. So you can compound that and think that Nash was also done with this roster. It is strange, from an ownership point of view, how you have Udoka's contract ready to go. As you said, there's no doubt that they have been just ready to sign him as their next head coach, because this timeline is absolutely crazy. We're showing it to you here on YouTube, how they let go of Nash. 12:52 Eastern is what we've got here, and then within an hour and a half, 90 minutes. I mean, it sounds like they're hiring Udoka. It sounds like Udoka is there. So it's strange. It's just I understand that he was there as an assistant, but it's an increasingly chaotic locker room now. I mean, it's just more baggage into that locker room.
The Nets don't want you if you don't have baggage. All right, you better show up to my place like you're staying for months. Just luggage after luggage coming in after you. Yeah. Don't show up with a duffel bag. We love baggage here in Brooklyn.
And Josai is seemingly ready to pay anybody to be a head coach for a long period of time. That's why, for me, maybe because I question every financial decision in my life, I would be thinking, Ime Udoka, a long-term deal right here, right now, with this roster that's so combustible. Why not give an interim coach a shot? Why the heck not? But I guess they absolutely adore Ime Udoka.
Yeah,
and that's
when you say they, you mean Kevin Durant.
Oh yeah,
no, you mean Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, but Josiah's writing the checks. He has to. He's now paying 2 head coaches premium dollars, the fired one and now the new one. So that's a lot of dollars to be paying for a roster that could go kaput real quick, right? I mean, this could be a new roster in a few months. Mm-hmm. And so then you're going to be paying Udoka to lead a rebuilt team, possibly. But you're right. I'm looking at it from the ownership perspective, because I thought they were digging in. I thought they were saying, the players don't control us.
That's what they did say.
Yeah.
They absolutely did say that. And then they took 7 games to change course. Maybe it's because Udoka came available. Maybe they saw what they saw from Nash again and were convinced. Maybe it's probably the players saying something more. Probably all of these factors, but it's weird. It's a weird decision. Look, this is nothing new for a coach to be in his 3rd year with a team that has high expectations. Slow starts, faltering, whatever, can't play like a defense, to be let go. This happens. It's what happened during the offseason is the part that's a new twist to all of it, where the superstar is saying, I don't want to play for this coach.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, everybody just decides a couple days later, a week or two later, okay, we'll give it a go. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, very weird.
And then when you start 2-5, an uninspiring 2-5 at that, they win last night, but they barely win. I mean, the Pacers nearly came back to take that game.
Tried to give it away.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. Do you have any faith in, be it Udoka, be it Jacques Vaughn tonight, to whoever's coaching this team here moving forward, to turn this around? I know, Tass, you don't, because you think we're going to be doing an emergency podcast in a week or two when maybe Kyrie gets traded or something else. But what about you, TK?
Well, the Nets will beat the Bulls tonight. That's going to happen.
You're going to lock that in?
The fired coach bounce, that's a real thing. You get rid of the coach you don't like, so the whole team has to play up to their capabilities. Also, no Ben Simmons for the Nets tonight. Also an advantage for them, I think. So I'm not looking good for Chicago. Going forward, though, Udoka is the right kind of coach that they need. Somebody who obviously already has their respect, being in that locker room prior. And he got the Celtics to play really good defense last year. The Nets need good defense. They're 30th in the league right now. But like Tass said, the problem is the roster. They don't have any defenders. So it doesn't really matter who the coach is. Like, you're asking Ben Simmons to be your entire defense. He ain't playing tonight. He'll be back eventually. But even then, it's like Simmons is a defender. Claxton is an okay defender. I think he's more of a shot blocker than a lockdown defender. And then it's like probably Kevin Durant is the next guy. Yeah. And you're asking him to be your best defender out there on a night-to-night basis. The talent isn't there on the defensive side of the ball for them to actually be better on that end. They can be a lot better offensively. I don't know how much better KD and Kyrie can be. They're both already at 30-plus per game. The problem is finding buckets from other players as well. So maybe that improves, but the defense is still going to stink.
Yeah, the Nets have been bottom 10 this season in defensive rating, net rating, rebounding. Their shooting has been poor from the three-point distance, and opponents' three-point percentage and opponents' field goal percentage. So, yeah, a lot of the hustle stats, the defensive stats, taking care of the ball, or at least rebounding the ball and stopping possessions. It's been brutal. And you've watched. I mean, you keep saying every show, like, oh, God, this is a depressing team to watch. Oh, my God, it's brutal.
Yeah, and you've got two 30-point scorers on this roster.
It
is wild, but they do not play with any intensity on the defensive end. Part of it is definitely the makeup of this team. 2 years ago, I had fun watching this team, that team that lost to the Bucks in the postseason. You had Bruce Brown running around being a glue guy. You had Jeff Green sort of being a locker room presence. You had even Blake Griffin diving for loose balls. Those guys are all gone. It's a very different roster, very different makeup, and I just don't think they have it in them, regardless of who the head coach is. I just don't see that happening whatsoever. We're going to be sitting here. We got 4 months. We're going to be sitting here talking about a Kyrie trade. It has to happen. They're not going to sign him long-term as a free agent, and it doesn't make sense, though, where we are now and where we will be in a few months. But what makes sense with this organization? I mean,
true.
It just went downhill from that first Nash season. It was lovely. Things were working out well, but then Jimmy James said, "I'm done," and Nash had to. He has to be popping some champagne right now. He's got to be enjoying himself right now.
Nash, being free of the drama, maybe.
Yeah, he's the winner here.
You think so?
Yeah. Still getting paid. Doesn't have to make that crazy face anymore. He's probably way happier on a night-to-night basis. He's living the life.
Well, it's ironic because as wild as all of this transpired, he hasn't been a good coach either. It's just truthful. I love Nash.
He was good,
but he's not. He really has not proved to be a great head coach with talent, even though there's some holes for sure. And so I know Nets fans, a lot of them are very ecstatic that he's gone. They are. He's like, we didn't like his lineups. They obviously couldn't play any defense. Our guys wanted him gone in the offseason, so there's that too. So maybe everyone's a little happier here is what I'm getting at.
I mean, yes. As far as X's and O's, that first season he was brought in because Kevin Durant absolutely loved him from his Golden State days, and he was going to give the ball to superstar players, and it worked. They were first.
There was no head coach, remember, according to Kyrie, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a bit of a coach. He's a bit of a head coach,
yeah.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Nash, I guess, is here. Jacques Vaughn, he could be head coach.
I mean,
that came true.
Yeah, I mean, he did well, though, to give Durant the ball. They're first in offense, and then they kind of struggled defensively throughout the season, but they did enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks, who eventually won the championship. So, in a way, Nash hasn't proven to be a good head coach. He hasn't gotten the locker room together last season, but it was working for a season. And he didn't get the locker room together. Could anybody else? That's the question.
Maybe we're gonna find out. Or that's exactly right. Is it really Nash being a first-time head coach struggling with this, or could anyone have gone through what they've gone through over the last couple seasons, all the off-court drama, and then how they're playing on the floor as well? Do you think Trey's right that the Bulls lose tonight to the Jacques Vaughn Nets?
I do believe in the coach bump, but nah, I don't think so. They played last night.
They did.
And I thought they would have a good revenge game against the Indiana Pacers, who they just lost. It was a 2-game baseball set, and they got smacked by the Pacers on Sunday, and they barely beat them. Or Saturday, I should say, and they barely beat them on Monday. Barely. So no, I don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a lot of faith in the rebounding department and all that. I don't know. I feel bad for Nash in a way. He's totally happy for right now. I don't know if he's going to coach again, but he was trying to get Ben Simmons involved in this offense as a roller and as a distributor. But Ben Simmons is not the same player. And then beyond that, what is the man supposed to do? I mean,
he coach defense.
He didn't get. You're right. He didn't get defensive effort, but they're tiny, and I think it's more of a roster thing than a head coach thing.
We're gonna find out here soon enough, I guess. I don't know. Well, we don't know if it's even official or it's not, but when it will be, when Udoka's even possibly taking over this team. Is this happening like later this week? Is this
24 to 48 hours, right?
Yeah, is that okay? Wow, well then that's pretty quick. Jacques Vaughn could have a 1-0 record after tonight. I guess he coached for the Magic for a long time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did coach for the Magic.
3 seasons there?
Man, that 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals, Bucks versus Nets. Talk about a sliding doors moment in the NBA. The Nets were up 2-0. We were talking about Mike Budenholzer getting fired after Game 3.
Right.
Instead, they won the championship that year, and the Nets have completely self-destructed since then. They're trying to get back to that 2021. Yeah. That's why they're bringing back Udoka. They're like, we were all happy back then. We were having a great time. That's when everybody was playing. That's when everybody was on the court, all on the same team, trying to do the same thing. Things have changed.
Yeah, and Durant's toe was just a little bit too long.
Shoes too big.
Shoes too big.
Like some roomy.
He likes some roomy. He's got narrow feet.
He's actually a size 9, I heard. He wears like 18.
I love it.
All right, any other final thoughts on Nash and the Nets parting ways and looking like Udoka's going to take over this team? Anything else you got? No. Well, let's hear from you out there. I know the stream team going nuts here. Shout out to everybody joining us live here on a Tuesday afternoon. Hit the like button. A lot of you joining us live. A lot of you haven't hit the button, I can notice. So please do that. Subscribe to the podcast if you don't already. 10 a.m. Eastern live every morning. You just finished a F1 podcast, too.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, you've been sitting in this chair since basically 9:30 this morning.
Well, actually, from 1 o'clock to 2:30, I was sitting in that chair.
Oh, way to switch it up, buddy.
Yeah, you know, that's Tass's chair.
It did feel a little cozier.
A little cozy. I left it warm for you.
It was quite warm.
Warm it up.
Fantastic.
Full beans.
That's why I wore shorts.
Oh,
because it's hot in here.
It is a little toasty in here. He's got a jacket on. I got a sweater on. You're looking like you're hitting the beach. Which we'll do tomorrow. Get your questions in.
Hey, nice.
NoDunks@theathletic.com. If you've got questions about the Nets and Nash and Udoka and anything related to this or not, anything about the NBA, send them in. NoDunks@theathletic.com or tweet them in @NoDunksInc. Yeah, check out the F1 podcast, No Breaks with Trey and Graydon. They just did it. It just went up. So go check that out. It's got its own YouTube feed and podcast feed. All right. We will see everyone. What do you think, Tass? In a couple hours when Kyrie gets moved or something? Nah. Yeah, we'll give it 3.5 hours. We'll see you back here. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Clipper Bros?
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Oh, thanks for joining us. And remember, I've got nothing to say, nothing interesting to say. Let's see. Is there a great Steve Nash line? Has he said anything extremely memorable?
He did the crazy face the other
He
day.
did the crazy face. Oh, there it is.
Still
Katie's had his finger hovering over that this entire podcast. It's just
Still looks like a Halloween mask to me that he
totally
just
does.
threw on there.
In honor of Steve Nash, he was the savant of high fives when he played.
Yeah.
A couple high fives for
All right.
Steve.
This one's for Steve.
That's for Steve. It's for you,
That one's
Steve.
for you, Steve. Praise the day, people.